I welcome you all to the session on behalf of Nitesh Mehra and Associates. So today's discussion will be focused on the impact of COVID-19 on real estate. As we move forward, I would like to introduce our keynote speaker for today, Mr. Rohit Gupta, Advocate, Delhi High Court.
Ria, you need to be little slow and we cannot hear you. I think you have to repeat again. Yeah,
Hello, sir, am I
yeah,
audible?
yeah. Now you are audible. Please be slow. Okay.
Hanji, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're having a great day. I am Riya Sharma, a law student from Vivekananda Institute of Professional Studies, and I welcome you all to this session on behalf of Nitesh Mehra and Associates. So today's discussion will be focused on the impact of COVID-19 on real estate. As we move forward, I would like to introduce our keynote speaker for today, Mr. Rohit Gupta, Advocate, Delhi High Court. Mr. Rohit Gupta has completed his law degree in the year 2012 and has handled both civil and criminal matters for telecommunication companies, real estate companies, pharmaceutical companies, CBI matters, and various other corporate companies. His areas of expertise include legal drafting, commercial transaction, contracts, consumer matters, constitutional rights infringement, including SLP, writ petitions, and many more. Apart from having a wide litigation base and clientele, he also has carved a niche for the corporate world in India. As we all know that these are uncertain times and the world is changing in every aspect. COVID-19 is going to leave its mark on every aspect of the global economy, and therefore we need to be prepared for how these changes are going to unfold before us when the pandemic has finally ended. So with this, we all look forward to having an informative and enlightening session from Mr. Rohit Gupta on the impact of COVID-19 on the real estate sector of the economy. Over to you, sir. You may begin.
I'm thankful to Nitesh Mehra and Associates, including the moderators, for giving me this opportunity. Today's topic of discussion would be impact of COVID-19 on real estate developers and projects in India.
Rohit, we cannot hear you. I think you need to unmute yourself.
Hello, am I audible now?
Yeah. You may begin, again, please.
Oh, I'm thankful to Nitesh Mehra and Associates for giving me this opportunity, including the moderators, and I welcome everyone. Before beginning, I would like to throw light upon today's topic, that is impact of COVID-19 on real estate developers. This is from the prospect of the developers, and the topics that I'll be discussing along with it are the ongoing crisis in the real estate sector. Second will be the effect of COVID-19, which will also include incapacity of the buyers to fulfill its obligations, delay in projects, and other factors. Other factors includes reverse migration of laborers, lack in number of staff, depressed pricing of the project, etc. Then I'll be importantly discussing the legal implications, which will include RERA, Consumer Forums, NCLT, and IBC, of course. In the legal implications, I'll be discussing both the sides, that is from the buyers and from the builders. Now let me begin with the first topic, that is ongoing crisis in the real estate sector. Today, it goes without saying what the real estate sector in the economy is going through. This is the talk of town being discussed in every household and social gatherings. This has been personally experienced in social gatherings or public gatherings, as by me. Whenever we go to a public gathering, we end up talking about real estate most of the time. We talk, usually the buyers, investors, or consumers are among all of us. Everybody has, any way or the other, devoted certain sum of money in the real estate sector. That is how they become consumers, that is how they become investors. The consumers in the economy have devoted their substantial saving in building a security for themselves by investing in the real estate sector. On the other side, it is worthwhile to mention the amount of contribution made by the real estate sector in the form of taxes runs in thousands of crores, direct employment and indirect employment to crores of people. There are already various factors contributing to the crisis faced by the developers in the real estate sector, which displays the builders and developers as an evildoer in public eyes. I'll quickly come to that. Major factors that are being shortlisted by me in today's webinar are print media. Why do I say print media? As we have already seen, there are very few giants in the developing industry, especially in the real estate sector. I can't name anyone because most of the time, most of them I've represented for or against. So, but we have come across a lot of them in the newspapers. We have seen their articles. We have seen judgments against them. So, Supreme Court, Honorable Supreme Court has taken cognizance. Honorable Delhi High Court has taken cognizance. Their promoters and directors are behind bars. But there are very few of them who has these projects all across the country, where hundreds of projects are lying, where hundreds of properties are mortgaged. But because of these very few, the entire industry is being impacted at a very large scale. Because of these few, there are small projects where like there are 200 flats or 500 flats. Every project is being suffering because of these few set examples in the industry. This is the mindset of the consumer or an investor today, that every developer is going to flee with their money around. That is how print media plays a major role. Then the other sector would be banking sector, that is high lending rates. Banking sector also includes NBFCs today. Banking sector, before granting any kind of loan to the developers, has a huge pile of documentation that is required. There are certificates that are required. There are licenses that are required. So, and whatever we see in newspapers, whatever we come across low lending rates for consumers, that are only for consumers. Those agreements are never meant for developers. These projects are given to developers. This lending rate is as a much higher rate that is given to consumer for buying a property. To shy away from this documentation, NBFCs come into existence when there are leases, when there are certificates, when there are licenses that lack. NBFCs come into the picture and they give loan. But giving loan by an NBFC demands higher rate of interest to a developer, which is all borne by the developer. Other factors are government policies now. Government policies includes all kind of clearances, environmental clearances, clearance before starting of the construction, before acquiring of the land, after acquiring of the land, after starting of the construction, completion certificates, land acquisitions. Another factor of crisis are disruptive elements in the society. Disruptive elements also include epidemic and pandemic situations. Any unknown factor, cartelization on procurement of raw material and labor forces. Then one of the most important decisions would be court decisions. That is stay on acquisitions, injunctory reliefs in suits, contractual disputes in court between the developer and its creditors, then to add on arbitrations, of course. So these are all the factors where today the ongoing crisis in the real estate sector was always there before this epidemic situation had come into play. After this, now we should come with the topic of effect of COVID-19. In the effect of COVID-19, there's another topic, incapacity of buyers to fulfill its obligation. And why do I say this? Before proceeding with the heading, it is important to understand the unprecedented human toll COVID-19 virus has triggered into deep economic crisis. The impact can be bigger than any other economy failure experienced before. It is where the GDP of the country has seen a marginal decrease as never experienced before in the past decades. In the present situation, the entire corporate and every segment of the
Rohit,
society.
you are quite low in audible. Can you be a little louder?
Is it fine now?
Yeah, little
Hello?
bit fine. Little bit fine, you know.
Is it okay? Hello?
Yeah, now it's okay. Now it's okay.
So I was an effect of COVID-19.
Thank you so much.
So I would begin the effect of COVID-19 by incapacity of the buyers to fulfill its obligation. Before proceeding with the heading, it is important to understand the unprecedented human toll. COVID-19 virus has triggered into deep economic crisis. The impact can be bigger than any other economy failure experienced before. It is where the GDP of the country has seen a marginal decrease as never experienced before in the past decades. In the present situation, the entire corporate and every segment of the society has taken a back step. As we know, with the immediate lockdown by the government resulting in shutdown of country, making everything stand still, has made it difficult for every segment to maintain their household vis-a-vis for companies to function and even maintain employee and staff. This is an everyday story. Now, once there is a lockdown, even after notification by the government, even after the notification where employees employers will be liable to pay their employees the entire salary. Still, we have come across a lot of retrenchment layoffs are being taking place. Still, we have seen a petition which has been filed before Supreme Court where the relief has also been granted in favor of the employers. That no coercive action will be taken in case if they are unable to pay their salaries. However, today there is also an order which has come by the Honorable Supreme Court saying that let the employer and employee sit and decide this. Let them come to the middle somewhere and decide this how to overcome this situation. However, but regardless of directions by the Ministry of Home Affairs, we have seen layoffs, retrenchment, compulsory retirement be floated in the employment status of every sector in the economy. Therefore, as a result of which, it has become impossible for any buyer to fulfill its part of the obligation under the builder-buyer agreement or agreement to sell, etc. whatsoever. Moreover, with the burden of unemployment, the government here has failed to show any sign of relief to this particular sector I am relying on of society for releasing any financial burden. Incapacity with the burden to choose between running the household expense or to fulfill its part of the financial obligation that has been promised to the builder. The generic law of nature attracts, whereby the basic necessity of clothing, food, and shelter is always kept at priority. Nobody can you choose to pay installments to their builders, to their banks over all these. Thus, here with the explanation, the entire cycle of finance breaks, resulting in which the next topic that I'm about to share, delay in projects. As discussed above, the real estate sector was already going through a tough phase, where this lockdown situation due to COVID-19 virus makes it worsen and more alarming. As we know, with the rising financial burden and downfall in the economy, the major issues in relation to delay in project arises out of the capacity of the buyer to fulfill its part of the obligation under the agreement. I've already elaborated on the incapacity aspect above. We can proceed further to understand the delay. It will bring it in completion of the ongoing projects and other factors attributable for the delay. Every project is raised with its only motive to be delivered in the time-bound manner. Time is the essence of every such contract. With the process of raising a project, the journey begins from acquisition to delivery of flats, plots, build-up units, etc. to their respective allottees and buyers. The repercussion of the lockdown has made a full stop to the real estate sector, whereby the buyers are not in a position to proceed with the promised finances. The money received from the buyers in parts are eventually invested in the project along with the other finances attained by the developers from banks, financial institutions, etc. In a normal trend seen in projects before the completion, that is at the initial stages of the project, it is only 30% of the total inventory of the project is likely to be booked with the advances, and the rest is to be developed by the developer on the finances attained from banks, financial institutions, etc., which will results in completion of the project. Now in the present lockdown, entire cycle has come on halt. Importantly, it is the trust of the buyer that need not to be shaken in these tough times. And every development shall be formed to every buyer from time to time to keep the relationship healthy. Therefore, pace of construction at such projects due to the ongoing lockdown will mean delays and also affect sales. In this present scenario, I believe the circumstances are to be blamed for fulfillment of the obligations. As we already know, which has also come into the picture recently, the banks and NBFCs have again asked for bank records from the buyers to reassure their financial capacity to pay back them, which is the current scenario which is happening. Due to the layoffs and due to the unemployment which has been rising at a marginal scale, these financial institutions have really become insecure today. Insecure to the extent they've asked these buyers, they've asked these project holders to resubmit their entire financial record again, as on date current, to make sure they're holding their employments, to make sure their project is running at a fast pace, so that tomorrow they might not come in soup as earlier, which is the case of some big giants like whose promoters are already behind the bars. Our next topic would be compulsory payment to workers under the MHA guidelines. How does the financial cycle gets a break? This is how it happens actually. When there was an MHA guideline of 2020, where the government made it compulsory for the employer to make wages to their workers, in spite of which the employers were unable to pay to their employees because of the financial incapacity, resulting in which they went to Supreme Court, they got an order, no coercive actions, no coercive action against the employers, but again, there is no relief to any of the employees, no relief to them, how will they be paid, how their salaries will be paid, resulting in which the entire projects, their bookings in the project takes a halt. They are unable to make their payments to their banks. They are unable to release those funds to the project holders. The development will not be able to start because of this. Therefore, certain other factors that are attributable to the effect, that is reverse migration of labors. There will be marginal reduction of available labor force for execution of project, including disturbance in chains such as raw material. Considering that the lockdown ends, there is no surety of migrant laborers to be back at work in cities. Depressed pricing of the project. In such a time, when there is no money with anyone, we don't have any household run, the people do not have their employments with them. It will be a task to sell a project. In fact, with the ongoing project, it will be a task to get funds released because of this project. Then there will be lack in number of staff members to regulate the management of the projects. Then we also get to see escalation in prices of raw materials such as cement, steel, etc. Now we'll come to the last topic, that is legal implications. That's a way wider. Considering all factors and standstill status of the real estate anatomy, the consumer as well as the developer builder is incurring irreparable losses. But presently the developer builder have far more reasons to worry, considering that consumers have majority held a position of sympathy, and in many cases, rightly so. However, the present situation is beyond the control of humankind, and it has its own legal implications in the real estate sector as discussed below. Now it will be, first and foremost, I'll be discussing RERA, Real Estate Regulatory and Development Act 2016. The statute of RERA was enacted to promote and regulate the real estate sector and ensure sale of real estate projects, etc., in transparent manner. I'll be giving reference to Section 3 of the Act provides that the project which are ongoing on 25th March 2016 and for which completion certificates have been issued, the projects should be registered under RERA within 3 months. It was the major object of RERA that had come into existence. It was necessitated to be registered under RERA within 3 months from 25th March 2016. Now, the application for registration projects considering on ongoing projects required to be filed under Section 4 of the Act, wherein under Section 4, subsection 2, clause 1, subclause C, the applicant, that is the promoter or the authorized person, is required to submit a declaration supported by his affidavit, his personal affidavit, the time period within which he undertakes to complete the project, as the case may be. The focus of RERA was to bring transparency. This is as transparent as it can be. The time period within which he undertakes to complete the project, as the case may be. Now, as per Section 5(3) of the Act, the registration granted by the authority shall be valid for a period declared by the promoter. So, there were these parameters that were set by the RERA that a project needs to be completed within this time frame, and an affidavit of a promoter was required for it. Shall be valid for a period declared by the promoter under Section 4 for completion of the project. Therefore, the project is registered for a period equal to the period declared by promoter to complete the project. Now, I'll be referring to Section 6 that comes into the play after this pandemic. While Section 6 of the Act grants extension of registration due to force majeure, Force majeure here has not been described. There's no definition substantiating force majeure. However, there are honorable Supreme Court judgments. Recent in the past, we have come across honorable High Court judgments where force majeure has been totally dedicated to the agreements. Every agreement has to be read separately. Every clause has to be read in every single scenario, separate single scenario. Now, RERA has in all intent included force majeure as a ground to extend the period of registration of in case of act of God. The section plays that the registration granted under Section 5 may be extended for not more than 1 year. If application by promoter is made for extension with fees due to force majeure without default of promoter based on facts of each case. The explanation to Section 6 defines the expression force majeure on so and so, such as war, flood, drought, fire, cyclone, earthquake, or any other calamity caused by nature affecting the regular development of the real estate. Now, affecting the regular development of the real estate includes everything, including the present scenario. Therefore, RERA has made force majeure a relief to the buyer, to the builder, promoter by extending the time to complete the project by extending the registration for 1 year. COVID-19 situation is clear, a calamity by nature affecting the development of projects for reason discussed above. On interpretation, the builders clearly have the extended time for projects on application only. They have to submit an application to RERA. Now we come to consumer forums. That is district consumer forum, state consumer forum, and national consumer forum. Before beginning with the consumer forum part, let me tell the pecuniary jurisdiction of the district forum, state forum, and national consumer district resolution commission. Now, district forum has a pecuniary jurisdiction of up to 20 lakhs. State commission has a pecuniary jurisdiction up to 1 crore, from 20 lakhs to 1 crore. NCDRC has a jurisdiction above 1 crore. Now, complaints filed in district forum are filed under section 11 of the Consumer Protection Act 1986. State Commission direct complaints are filed under section 17 of the Consumer Protection Act, and National Commission complaints are filed under section 21 of the Consumer Protection Act. Now we see appeals that are merging out of the order from the district forum filed in state commissions are filed under section 15 within a period of 30 days from the order. And appeal going to state commission is filed under section 19 of the Consumer Protection Act. From the state commission order, appeal going from the state commission to the national commission is filed under section 19 of the Consumer Protection Act. And from NCDRC's order, direct appeal goes to Supreme Court, that is under section 23 of the Consumer Protection Act. And hello. Now, I would like to go further. Consumer forums. Usually, all consumer forums are inclined towards interpretations which are read in favor of the consumers by making the developers stand at a disadvantageous position. However, considering the present situation, it is fair and just that every builder-buyer agreement be interpreted in wider sense to accommodate the plight of the builder, wherein the factors responsible for the building of projects are affected beyond the control of the promoter and builder. Why do I say this? Consumer forums are their constitution. If we read the constitution of the consumer forums, is always designed in such a manner whereby stopping the developers from exploiting the buyers, exploiting the consumers. If you would read section, to be precise, section 2C, which says complaints, means an allegation in writing made by the complainant that an unfair trade practice or restricted trade practice has been adopted by the buyers. To also stop the deficiency of service, to also complain for the deficiency of service. I find it very important to mention here the definition of a consumer, because most of the people are really confused about the definition of the consumer. If we see section 2D, without reading this section, I'll just give a brief note over it. Who are the consumers? Anybody involved, not involved in resale or commercial activity, as far as the developing, as far as the project, as far as this units that you have booked are concerned in a project. No resale and commercial activity. You are a consumer if you have booked a particular property for your own use, for your family's use, but you are an investor if it's booked for the purpose of resale, or you are in a usual practice of reselling the property that includes that makes it's a commercial transaction. Then you will not fall under the definition of a consumer. You are not in a position to file complaint before any of the commissions. Therefore, considering the present, the Consumer Protection Act protects the interest of consumers. A complaint can be filed with the reason under Section 2C, wherein against a developer and a promoter, it can be filed when deficiency of service for non-completion of project. Therefore, considering the present situation of COVID-19 and delay in completion of project for reason discussed above during the situation cannot be termed as deficiency of service. Now, present situation, if we read, cannot be read as anywhere within the parameters of deficiency of service. As per section 2G of the Act, deficiency is defined as fault, imperfection, shortcoming, inadvocacy in the quality, nature, and manner of performance, which is required to be maintained as per the contract or in regard to services. Today, if you see the present scenario, recently none of the commissions, none of the consumer commissions have come up with anything defining the present scenario, whether it's Honorable NCDRC, whether it's state commissions, whether it's the district commission. Everything is in soup. Nobody knows how this period will be exempted from filing a complaint, whether it will be exempted or whether it will not be exempted. So this is my suggestion, this is my advisory, this is what I personally feel. The act of God cannot be a fault on shortcomings of a builder. This cannot be interpreted as a deficiency in law. Our next topic of discussion would be now NCLT. The remedies that are given in NCLT to the buyers after a notification that I'll come to. Let me give a brief about NCLT. And specifically, it will be defined under the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2016. Before proceeding further, let me tell what is the IBC code all about. It's an act to consolidate and amend the laws relating to reorganization and insolvency resolution of corporate persons, partnership firms, and individuals in a time-bound manner for maximization of value of assets of such persons to promote entrepreneurship. It is not a recovery forum. Usually, people feel it is a recovery forum, consumers feel it is a recovery forum. It is not a recovery forum. It is reorganization of the company by selling its assets, by knowing its creditors, by knowing its operation. Hello? Am I audible? It is not a recovery forum. It is not meant to be a recovery forum. This is what a usually trend is. Consumers are usually misguided by this. Buyers are usually misguided by this, but it is not a recovery forum. The Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2016 was enacted to consolidate laws relating to reorganization and insolvency, resolution of corporate person, etc., availability of credit, and balance the interest of all the stakeholders. Let me correct again. It is to protect the interest of all the stakeholders. Stakeholders includes buyers. They also include operational creditors. They also include banking sector. It also includes NBFCs. It also includes any kind of loan taken, any kind of investment made by the company, any kind of liability owned to any other company by the company. It is not only for the buyers to recover their money. It cannot be used as a tool. Time and again, it has been held by high courts Earlier, the law was of winding up petitions by the Companies Act. Now it has dissolved, and IBC had came into the picture where jurisdiction has gone to NCLT. The relevant provision of the Act are sections 7 and 9. 7 is for operational creditors, and we'll be discussing and emphasizing on section 9, that is meant for financial creditors. As per section 6 of the Act, a financial creditor and an operational creditor or the corporate debtor may initiate corporate insolvency process in respect of corporate debtor who commits a default only in case of a default. Section 7, read with section 5(7), deals with the initiation of corporate insolvency resolution process by financial creditor. And section 9, read with section 5, subsection 20, deals with the initiation of corporate insolvency resolution process by operational creditor. In regard to the real estate, the financial creditors are like a lottee, buyer, financial institution, and operational creditors are like suppliers. Any other to whom operational debt is owed, only the operational debt. Section 2, subsection 12 of the Act defines default, read with section 6 of the Act as non-payment of debt when whole or any part of installment of the amount of debt has become due and payable and is not repaid by the debtor or the corporate debtor. Considering the present situation, the NCLT should make a reformative approach in such times and leniently deal with the insolvency process against the developer and promoter. Now, I would like to throw some light upon the recent development that have been made via notifications which has been published by Ministry of Law and Justice, making an amendment in section 7. Why do I say that buyers and allottees have come under the heading of corporate debtors? If I give reference to section 5, straight away I'll read the amendment, which had come into the play on 6th of June 2018. It's an ordinance which has come on 6th of June 2018, makes an amendment to section 5 of the Act, where they say the expression allottee and real estate project have the meaning respectively assigned to them, and they have been named as corporate guarantors, corporate debtor, and means a corporate person who is surety in a contract of guarantee to a corporate debtor. So they have been declared as financial creditors in terms of this ordinance. Then I'll be throwing this light on. Again, there is an amendment which has come on 13th of March 2020 by Ministry of Law and Justice, whereby there's a recent amendment that has come after that, just before the lockdown period, when we saw there was a growing in number of cases against the developers. Now we know there's a pecuniary jurisdiction that is defined in section 4 of IBC. It says anybody can go and invoke IBC petition, IBC court by if there's a due amount of 1 lakh or above. So seeing and looking at the number of increased cases, the government had come up with as a saving grace, I must say, to the developers, and defined the parameters of section 7, and I'll just read it for just a few lines of it. Section 7 of the Principal Act, an explanation, provided that for the financial creditors referred to in section so and so, an application for initiating corporate insolvency resolution process against the corporate debtor shall be filed jointly by not less than 100 of such creditors. I'm repeating myself, by not less than 100 of such creditors in the same class or not less than 10% of the total number of such creditors in the same class, which is less, provided for financial creditors who are allottees under a real estate project. An application for initiating corporate insolvency process against the corporate debtor shall be filed jointly by not less than 100 of such allottees under the same real estate project or not less than 10% of the total number of such allottees under the same real estate project, whichever is less. So today in the present scenario, after this amendment, a particular project, if holds 500 allottees, It requires minimum 100 or 10%, that is whichever is less. Not any individual allottee can go and file. Not any individual allottee can go and halt the entire project. Not any individual, just because he owes 1 lakh or 2 lakh, cannot come and file an IBC petition and halt the entire project of 500 plots, making 499 other people suffering because of just one person, because of any grievance he holds today. Entire project cannot suffer because of only one. It has to be minimum 100 or 10%. Now there is a recent amendment that has come, which is after the lockdown, that is on 5th of June, which is in favor of the developers, that suspends the IBC proceeding, any fresh proceeding that needs to be filed, that was filed online or maybe physical copy after 25th March of 2020, has been suspended for 6 months, can up to go to 1 year. I'll just give a brief reference to it. Section 10 of the Principal Act, there's an amendment, that is Section 10A has been introduced. Notwithstanding anything contained in Sections 7, 9, and 10. 7, 9, and 10, we are focusing on 9 here, where allottees have been put under the Section 9 as financial creditors. No application for initiation of corporate insolvency resolution process of a corporate debtor shall be filed for a default arising on or after 25th March 2020 for a period of 6 months or such further period not exceeding 1 year from such date as may be notified. There's a slight difference in understanding. Any default which occurs on 25th March 2020 gives an exemption to the builders here, but not they are not protected by this amendment if there is a default that has occurred before 25th March 2020. They cannot take advantage of this notification and shy away from any of the liabilities today. This is from the prospect of a consumer. Consumer can very well go within, file an application saying they were already in default on 25th March 2020. This period cannot be exempted for those builders. This cannot be read in favor of those builders. Now, the current scenario, there is also an amendment in Section 4 of the IBC, where they have also increased, favoring the real estate sector, they've also increased the minimum amount for invocation of default in the IBC from 1 lakh to 1 crore. There's an amendment that had come into March 2020, where they have increased this amount. I would also throw some light upon the exemption by the Reserve Bank of India to the builders and promoters. RBI notified a COVID-19 regulatory package dated 27th March so-and-so, wherein the regulatory measures were announced to mitigate the burden of debt serving brought about by disruptions on account of COVID and to ensure continuity of viable businesses. Same are as follows. The notification permitted all lending institutions such as commercial banks, NBFCs to grant a moratorium for 3 months on payment of installments falling due in the month of March and May, which has also been extended 3 months thereafter, which has gone to September now. The repayment schedule for such loans as also the residual tenor will be shifted across the board by 3 months after the moratorium period. The interest shall be continued to accrue on the outstanding, which has been disbursed by Honorable Supreme Court later. This is part of the notification which said the interest will be taken, but thereafter RBI made a statement before Honorable Supreme Court, we will not be charging them interest. Now for further 3 months, that has gone in September, the issue has been subjudiced before Honorable Supreme Court. In regard to the working capital facilities, sanction in form of cash overdraft, the lending institutions are permitted to defer the recovery of interest. Considering all the factors and legal implications, the builder and the buyers are suffering at the hands of the present situation. Therefore, a reformative approach is the need of the hour towards the balance of equity. Thank you. Hello.
Yeah, sir, there is a question from Zoya Mehta to you.
From?
So presently, Zoya Mehta,
okay.
Advocate Zoya Mehta. So
Abhishek, I
presently,
request
what
you
are
on
the
your video. Abhishek, on your video and then ask the questions from the speaker.
sorry, sir. So yeah, presently, sir, what are the forums which can be approached in to resolve the disputes of non-payment of salaries by the employers?
See, as on
The
date, Supreme
yeah,
Court
sir, please.
has Supreme Court a bench led by Justice Paul, where they've asked the employer and employee to sit together and resolve this issue, because they have also taken into account that without the employees, a company cannot function. Employees, without the employees, an employer cannot function. So amicably, they have come up with this resolution to dissolve this issue, sit together and dissolve this issue. In a recent petition, I'll get you with the name of the petition, but passed by Justice Call. It was all across the newspapers everywhere. But yet there is no decision. Yet there is no say in it. However, notification still stands into existence till 30th of May, because after that it was suspended, and the payments, and they have not come up with anything right now. However, the government has made a statement that financial incapacity of the employer cannot stand to be a reason for not paying a salary to their employees. But let them come up with a solution. In the meanwhile, let us see what the committee has to say. They have formed it. Let us see what resolution plan they are coming up with.
Well,
Nothing for
actually,
now.
if I may intrude in, my whole question was not taken up. I'm so sorry, Abhishek. I think there
Yeah,
was some.
Zoya, you can take up. You can take up. No problem.
Yeah,
I
so
thought
my
he
whole
said,
question was that only, like, till the time the government comes with a solution. Like, I know that the Honorable Supreme Court directed the parties to resort it mutually, but there has to be some, and they even suggested there's some authority to whom the
committee,
employers
right,
and employees can
right, right,
approach. So
right,
first thing, it is very vague what authority
right,
it is.
right.
And then also it is very, a big employer would not sit down with a small employee to solve things mutually. So my question is somewhere rolling around the fact that, is Supreme Court just giving a, just a,
They're dodging.
yes, didn't want to
See
use the
what I tell
word.
you. See, yeah. What I tell you. See, when it termination comes into the picture, now you cannot challenge termination because specific relief act comes into play. Then there is industrial disputes act come into play. So what maximum you can do is you can file a suit for recovery, whatever salaries till 30th of May. The government made it compulsory till 30th of May. After that, they suspended with a notification. I don't have it with me in handy right now.
Yeah, I
But
have the notification, sir.
after the notification, they've suspended their earlier notification. So for maybe one month, one day, whatever salary, you can go and file a suit for recovery. You can go and claim it. But I'll suggest you should wait for whatever reformative approach they're coming with this, because I'm sure Justice Call and let the bench, they might be coming up with something.
Yes, thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Sir,
Before take up the next question.
yes, sir, there is another question with Abhinav Kalia. Sir, we are facing financial crisis, so the builders are, but until this situation on the builders were paying
Abhishek, you're
their
not audible.
PMIs
Abhishek, you are not
on the
audible.
behalf of the allottees.
Yeah, Abhishek, you're not audible.
Sir, am I now?
No. Can I request Abhinav Kalia to please take up his question? Abhinav.
Yeah, sure, sir. Yeah, sure, sir.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. You know.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hi, good afternoon.
So we all are facing with financial crisis, so the builders are. But until this situation, the builders are paying the pre-MI on behalf of the allottees. But since this situation has come up, so they have refused to pay the pre-MI on behalf of the allottees and have been asking the allottees to opt for the moratorium or stop paying it or pay in full as they were paying it. But that is going to add financial burden on the allottees. And so if you go to RERA, it is going to take actually a lot of time over there. And sorry, sir, your voice is not audible. You have been muted.
Hello, am I audible now?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Rohit.
yeah.
You're audible.
I don't know how did I get mute, but see this. You need to realize this. Abhinav, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
RERA is not like any other consumer forum. RERA will
Okay.
not take much time. Every agreement has to be read as a whole. These notifications that I have read, you need to see every clause of that agreement, whether you fall, whether these exceptions apply, whether these notifications apply or not. Do they get an exemption? Do they not get an exemption? Every agreement has to be read. Please read all the clauses. Please go through them.
Okay.
Please see whether they are exempted from any of this or not.
Okay.
Because I don't know your agreement. I don't know your builders, but there might be something that will help you out with it. Even if there's a moratorium, then of course that period will be exempted.
Okay. Okay.
But I have to see, I don't know, but very specifically, but RERA will not take much time. Please do not feel it's like State Commission, District Commission, or NCDRC. I'm sure they are
Okay, sir.
burdened. That is why they take time. But RERA,
Mm-hmm.
maximum 3 hearings. You will not take much time. There's also a provision of online filing in RERA.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thanks.
I request Jatin. Jatin, you can take up your question. I think your connection was lost. Jatin Kumar.
Yeah. Hi, Nitesh sir. Hi,
Hi,
Rohit sir.
Jatin.
Hi, how are you? Nice to see you here.
Yeah, somehow I just lost the connection. I think because when I joined back, the answer was giving of second and third question. What my query is regarding that, some people have taken loans from banks and they are paying the rent amount right now, and they have invested in the flats, and due to this COVID-19 and any other situation, they are not being able to give the possession right now. So my question is very specific with regard to the particular one thing. If in case the possession is delayed, because if we have applied for the loan and we have received a particular loan, and through that loan I am paying my rent, so the amount of the number of months from which the possession is being delayed, is there any way I can claim from the builders or any remedy? Because ultimately the extended rent would be on my head, and even on that amount I have to pay the excess amount of interest to the banks as well.
See your amount, whatever rent, whatever amount you have taken as a loan, I believe builders are not to the agreement. They are not party to such an agreement, or are they party to such an agreement?
No. They are not a party to that
So
agreement.
anyways, so
Yes.
just
My
let's
specific
for a
question
moment.
is quite that, because due to the delay in the possession of 2 months, 3 months, or 4 months, the extra amount of rent or the extra amount of interest what I have been burdened because of their mistake, is there any way I can claim any kind of damages from that?
So your specific question is the default was only in lockdown?
Yeah, only duration. Yes, only specific provision. Only in the lockdown period.
Otherwise, they were never in default before 25th March.
No.
So today there's an exemption in law in favor of a developer.
Okay.
Today there is an exemption that whatever period for which you want to hold them liable, if lies in a lockdown period, you cannot claim from them.
Okay.
Be very specific. You cannot claim from them. Other than this, if there is a default, something else, I don't know, something else like property you filed, there's some issues with the property, if there might be some change in the plan, sanction plans, then you can come up with something. But otherwise, as on date, in regarding the property, which is fine and fair as you have booked with the particular builder, you cannot claim them under Consumer Protection Act. There is an exemption which in future they will get. Of course, there is no law on it. State Commission, District Commission, National Commission has not come up with anything as on date. But this is something that will take some time to be decided in litigation.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. I'll be happy if you can share this notification with all of us.
I'll do that. It's all with me in handy. I'll do that.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
So Rohit, I think we gather it and we take it. It like that all this or the defaults which are taking place in 25th of March or during the notification, all get exempted, right?
Right.
Now I request Shobit to kindly take up his question with our speaker, Mr. Rohit Gupta. Shobit.
Good afternoon, Nitesh sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Hi,
Sir, is
Shobit.
my voice clear, sir? Can you?
Yeah,
Good
Shobit.
afternoon, sir. Sir, my question number one is, sir, sir, in case if the builder is not giving the possession or giving back the money back to the consumer in respect of the flat that has been booked by the consumer, what remedy is left for the consumer? Can he file consumer case or RERA case or both cases, sir?
Do you want the property? You want your money back?
Sir, both in like situation if he's not getting the money also in the possession
Achha, he's
also.
not getting. I thought you said he's
Yeah.
getting the money back,
Yes,
but
sir.
he's
No,
not
no,
getting the
no,
No,
possession.
no,
saying
no,
he's
no,
not.
sir, it's not getting. Sorry, sir.
I thought you
If
said
he's
that.
not getting the possession. No, 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 sir.
Right.
I think
Okay,
it's the
okay,
voice
it's
is
okay.
getting.
So, I might be. I might have heard it wrong.
Yes, sorry for the confusion, sir.
Right. See,
Okay.
you can either go to RERA, you can either go to National
Yes, sir.
Commission, you can either go to NCLT.
Okay, sir.
You can explore RERA, and I would
Okay.
suggest you should go to RERA and IBC.
Okay, sir.
IBC is not it does not confer jurisdiction on each other because IBC is not a recovery proceeding. RERA and consumer proceedings simultaneously can go together. There is a
Thank you, sir.
judgment to this effect. You can go to RERA, you can go to consumer forums also. I would suggest
Okay,
you can
sir.
approach RERA.
Sorry,
Hello?
sir.
I feel you
Your
should go
voice is
to
not clear.
RERA. Being a consumer, you should go to RERA.
Okay, sir.
I will personally suggest.
Thank you, sir.
That's all.
Okay, sir.
Shobit, is there any other question?
Sir, another question if I ask.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Go.
Yes, sir. Sir, question. Sir, thank you, sir. Sir, the another question is, sir, just as you had just mentioned the notification. So, what is the remedy left for the consumer after this notification of IBC, sir, that has been just mentioned, sir, of June, just after 22nd of March to 2020, sir?
You talking
Since
about
all
the
the proceedings are
notifications with that
suspending, as you have just
you're talking about the notifications. See,
suspension,
you
yes,
need
yes.
to-
Sir, what
Right,
is the
right, right.
remedy?
See,
Yes, sir, after that?
I'll just clarify it. You need to appreciate this that
Yes, sir.
COVID-19 is not only for consumers; it is equally for builders, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I've if you would have actually heard me in total, there are a lot of
Yes, sir.
factors that are attributable because of these delays.
Yes, sir.
They were already there. Now they have all been aggravated. So there is a
Okay, sir.
reason why government has come up with this notification. So
Okay,
I would
sir.
really suggest if there was a default after 25th of March, you should
Yes, sir.
you should really look up to it and support your builder. You should really be in these tough times, let it pass, because this is something which is beyond our control. No court has decided it. I've seen Honorable NCLT's order where they have come up with an order saying this: if there was a default before 25th of March, then of
Yes,
course
sir.
your petition is maintainable. Even if a day is prior to that, if there is a default, there is a default. But after 25th March, I believe we should give them some sympathy at all, some sympathy at last.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
That's all, Shobit.
I also have another
Yes, sir.
question.
One more question, but sir, after Zoya, I'll ask.
No,
No, that's
please,
all.
Shobit, you carry on. I'm so sorry. I didn't know you have
No,
another
it's all right.
question.
It's all right.
Sir, with the permission of Nitesh, sir, can I ask one more?
Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah,
Sir,
we have Mr. Rohit, such a wonderful speaker. He's giving the answers very well. So you can go
May
ahead.
I
Thank you,
also
sir.
may I also take permission of Nitish sir to answer?
Sir, sir,
Go ahead.
sir,
Yeah, please.
sir, another question is, sir, what is the process like you were mentioning? If the consumer is an official creditor, how he can file his claim against the builder, sir, when he's is an official creditor in that sense, sir?
Shobit, under IBC, I don't know. Are you a lawyer
Yes,
or
sir.
practicing or what? Okay.
Sir, you're practicing, but I'm not doing this kind of matter, sir.
Okay,
That's why I'm
I
asking you, sir.
understand.
I'm just learning.
I understand.
Yes, sir.
understand. There is a specific
Yes,
format given in section under an application to be filed under section 9 in IBC.
yes, sir.
You have to,
Okay, sir.
gather all those documents in IBC, your bank statements and everything, every documents and all. It's a specific format. If you pick up
Okay,
this
sir.
IBC code, it's a very
Yes, sir.
specific format, very simple. It just tells you to fill those information in your chart and just submit it. That's all.
Okay, sir.
With the
Thank you,
code
sir.
fees, of course.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. That's it. Thank you.
That's all, Shobit.
Yes,
Zoya,
sir.
you
Thank
can
you, sir.
take up.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Zoya.
pardon my not knowing something, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
So is the employer also can be included under the operational creditor under the IBC?
Employer as in?
So not the
connection
employer,
with what?
employee.
Yes, there is. Not operational, but yes, there is a provision. I have to see to it, but there is a provision in law. You'll find it out. There is a provision that he can go and file an IBC petition.
Okay.
I don't exactly recall it. Under the way proof of as a workman, he can go claim by workmen and employees. That is, if you would see chapter 5 of the code, you'll find it in the regulations also.
Chapter
Okay, sir?
5 of the
regulations of the IBC, right?
Okay.
It's specific. I'm sure there is a specific format also for that. For every filing, there is a specific format in IBC code.
Okay.
You'll find it. It is there for employees.
But
Go ahead.
going
Go ahead
further, do you think that it'll serve the interest of the employees if we go invoke something like this?
At least there'll be a clarity in law. At least you will know where do we stand. No.
Yes.
You don't want to lose without a fight, right?
Obviously. Yes.
So go ahead. Try
Okay.
luck.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
So I think there is no more questions left as of now. So it's always, been a glad to have, speakers who are really well versed with the topic and they answers the questions very well in the manner being asked by the participants, viewer. They do understand it and then answer it back. I'm very glad to have Rohit Gupta today over this topic, taking so many notifications as issued by the court and the governments time to time during this COVID-19. So now I request Ria. Can you hear me, Ria?
Anji, sir. Yes, sir. I'm here.
Especially thank Rohit Gupta, sir, for today's webinar.
Thank you so much, Rohit, sir, for speaking on such a vast topic. The webinar was candid, articulative, and highly informative. And not only this, but by providing such an output and law about the topic, it was immensely knowledgeable and it was eye-opening on the subject of impact of COVID-19 on real estate. Last but not the least, we want to thank all our viewers who were here with us today in this short journey of today's webinar. So we would love to have many more informative sessions from you on other subjects of law in future. Over to you, Nitesh, sir.
Thank you, Ria, for such a wonderful thanking note. And now I thank you all my associates who have been the part of today's webinar. Good afternoon to you, Pramod Dubey, sir. We are just ending with today's session. So we're glad to see you here.
He's my senior, yeah.
Sir, how are you, sir? So we are just officially thanking Rohit Gupta for giving such an informative session. And along with Rohit, I would like to thank my associate for today's webinar, Ms. Ria Sharma and Mr. Abhishek Tyagi. Thank you, all of you. We'll look forward for more such informative sessions from you, Rohit, in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.